humans, Allison and Tony here from Blue Lion with yet another awesome update about the coronavirus. Today we're going to take some time and we're going to talk about the paid child care leave. So this is paid child care leave 101 for those of you currently homeschooling. Kick the kids out of the room, it's your turn to do some learning. First we want to talk about what employers does this cover. So it's going to be any employer with under 500 employees. This is an expansion of the Family Medical Leave Act, so it's actually taking what you currently have under Family Medical Leave Act. This is a unique portion that is now expanding those benefits. Most of you will know that Family Medical Leave Act is only for employers with 50 or greater. This is a change for this portion only. So it does not change all the other benefits under that. It doesn't change your maternity coverage. It doesn't change if someone goes out for surgery.
Nope.
Specific to the paid child care leave is what we're talking about today, and it's for employers with 50 or under. And this really has to do with coronavirus related regulations.
So what employees does this affect? So they're calling it the Emergency Medical Family and Medical Leave Expansion Act, if you're trying to Google it for those of us at home. And it allows 12 weeks of partially compensated. So again, we're talking about the Child Care Leave Act, okay? That portion. So we're going to talk about another kind of leave under this expansion later. So if you're wondering, does this affect this? Child care. Think in your head. Child care, child care, child care. 12 weeks, partial pay. What does that kind of look like? So it's for a child if you have to be at home with your child because the school or the child care facility that they normally go to every single day, those people you love to drop your kids off with that treat your kids like they're princesses and princes and then they come home and they're demons. Those amazing people who are no longer able to take care of your kids in the daytime because they now have to be home with you. It covers them because they're closed down to a COVID-19, whether it's the state closes them down, the town has closed them down, or the federal government closes them down for safety reasons, of course, to protect your children, to protect the families, and to protect the community that's around them. The leave applies only to workers who have been employed with an organization for 30 or more days. So unfortunately for this particular paid portion of it, if you've been employed for less than 30 days, it doesn't kick into you until you hit that 30-day mark.
So when does this take effect? So this legislation was passed by Donald Trump. It takes effect 15 days after that, which is going to be April 2nd. So April 2nd, 2020, and it goes all the way until December 31st of 2020. This is important to point out because as everyone's hearing, they are talking about this coming around for phase 2 in the fall, just like the flu virus typically does. So this legislation is going to carry us through the end of 2020 currently. And as we know, legislation can always extend things beyond that. But as of right now, it is from April 2nd of 2020 until December 31st of 2020.
Everybody should be crossing their fingers, spinning around, praying that it doesn't come back again.
So what does partial payment mean? So partial payment means for the first, the employees taking this leave are actually going to get 2/3 of their pay, or 66.66%, up to a maximum of $200 a day, not to exceed $12,000 over a 12-week period of time. However, the $200 a day is their regular rate of pay or minimum wage, whichever is higher. The reason this is important is if you work in the restaurant industry or another industry that has tipped employees and you are taking a tip credit on their wages. So let's say you're a server and you're only making $3.75 an hour. The amount that this is calculated on is going to be the minimum wage of your state. In the state of New Hampshire, that's going to be $7.25. The other thing here to think about is the first 2 weeks is going to be a paid sick leave, followed by 10 additional weeks of this child care leave. We're going to have another video that's going to give more detail on the paid sick leave, so we're not going to cover that right now. But this one is specifically that additional 10 weeks at the 2/3 pay. So you're getting 12 weeks of 2/3 pay, up to $200 per day, maxing out at the $12,000 per the entire 12-week period.
So employers, here's a great thing that the government has done to try and help offset the cost to you. The government's going to reimburse you as a small employer under 500. I know we think is that small? The answer is yes. The government's going to reimburse you for the money that you spend to help your employees get through this difficult time with the COVID-19. So what they're going to do is they're going to reimburse dollar for dollar up to the maximum amounts that we listed, and that will drop information in the information slide below. and they're going to reimburse you 100% through a tax credit. So we have a very specific example here for you.
So an eligible employer, if you've paid out $5,000 in this child care leave during this time to your employees that were eligible, and let's say during this period of time between your portion and the portion that you've withheld from your employees in your payroll taxes, that you owe the government $8,000 for those payroll taxes, you're going to subtract out the $5,000 and you're only going to pay them $3,000 on your next regular deposit date. So you're going to self-administer this refund by deducting the amount that you've paid out from the amount that you're scheduled to send to the government. If you were to pay additional, so let's say it was reversed. Let's say I paid out $8,000 and I'm only supposed to be paying $5,000 in my regular next payment, there's going to be a process for you to apply for an immediate refund of that difference. So it's not something you need to wait for the next quarter or the next time you make your regular payment. It is something they're going to allow you to seek a refund immediately for, and that process you're going to find on the Department of Labor website.
This is something too that your payroll provider can really help you with. So hopefully you have a really, really good payroll provider who's able to tell you when the quarter ends and they're filing those 940s and the 941s and things like that. They're able to tell you what you owe, what the reimbursement is going to be. It's also great if you have an accountant or your CPA processing your payroll. They're aware of this information, so they're going to know. So for those of us at home and we're like, oh, am I going to calculate this on my own? I honestly would say it's worth the small amount to get a professional to do this math for you so you're collecting the most back. I always like to say you want the most back. You want to make sure the government is only getting what they're owed.
The other thing to keep in mind is when you're doing this through a payroll system, it's a great idea to create a unique code for this. So don't classify this under your regular paid time off. Don't categorize this under vacation pay or sick pay. Make sure you're making a separate code for this so that you can track it separately.
I suggest calling it the federal paid leave so that when you calculate it out, it's easy to see. When they file for reimbursement, you know the exact dollar amount, the exact person you paid it for, the week it was paid in, so on and so forth. It'll save you so much time later on to classify it completely on its own.
So what happens if your staff is currently out for a shutdown? We know a lot of our clients and a lot of employers during this time are unfortunately having to reduce their staff, reduce the workforce, and some employees are out on unemployment. So if your employee is out of work because you have reduced hours and are not giving them hours to work, they would not be eligible for this benefit. They would actually be eligible for unemployment in both Massachusetts and New Hampshire. Those unemployment benefits are available on day one now. There is no longer a waiting period for that, which we had talked about last week. When they do return, so when you do call your employees back to work, if they're still not able to come to work because their child's school is closed or the daycare is closed, that would start their 12-week period. So then they would fall under this regulation and be able to seek those benefits. A very important thing to keep in mind is they are not able to seek unemployment benefits and be paid out under this benefit at the same time. It's one or the other. You cannot double dip on these.
So is it retroactive? I know a lot of people are thinking, so I've already been out for 2 weeks with my kid, or I've already been out for a week with my child care. We've been doing the remote learning process. Is this retroactive? Unfortunately, on today's date, the answer is no. It's not retroactive. The bill kicks in, like we said, on that April 2nd date. So unfortunately, if you've missed the payment, hopefully you've been able to collect the unemployment and it'll help offset a little bit. And I think there's going to be more things coming down through different kinds of packages and different kinds of regulations that are being passed to help offset some of those people. But as for right now, unfortunately, this is strictly for people that are going to be affected as of April 2nd moving forward. So if you're thinking to yourself, okay, can I collect now and I've been out for a week? I'm sad to tell you the answer is no. So that's a little bit of an unfortunate situation, but the thing is there's more things coming hopefully that'll help offset some of that stress.
And so finally, the last thing we want to go over is the posting requirements. So like a lot of regulations and updates that are passed by the government, this is one of those that you do need to be posting. So every covered employer is required to post this. We recommend putting it with your labor law posters and all the other items that you're required by law to post. The Department of Labor is going to be providing a model notice by March 25th. It's not yet available, but as soon as it is, we will try and get it out on our social media and sharing it as well. Finally, we just wanted to share our contact information. As we mentioned before, we are here for small businesses. We are offering some free consulting if it's COVID-19 related questions from small employers. Make sure you like us and share us, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
We look forward to hearing from everyone and hope that during this time of stress, everybody can feel comfortable at least reaching out to us and getting the information that they need. And we look forward to continuing to help our community during a difficult time.
Thanks.